This is CGTN, China Global Television Network.
Boko Haram kills dozens of farm workers in Nigeria. Ethiopia's federal troops gain control of Tigray's capital, Mekele. And Egyptian President Sisi in Juba for official visit. Hello and welcome. You're watching Africa Live. We're coming to you live from Nairobi. I'm Hannah Viviers. Here are more stories making headlines this hour. In business news, Nigeria earns over $1 billion from VAT. And in your sport, we bring you more reaction on CAF President Ahmed's FIFA ban. We begin the hour in northern Nigeria's Maiduguri state, where a suspected Boko Haram attack has killed at least 43 farm workers in rice fields. An anti-jihadist militia added that 6 people had also been injured in Saturday's attack. Boko Haram has been targeting farmers, loggers, herders, and fishers, accusing them of being informants, feeding information to the military. CGTN's Wanja Mugai has more on that report.
Residents outside Nigeria's northern city of Maiduguri are in mourning. Dozens were killed in a suspected Boko Haram attack. 8 others are still missing, presumed to have been kidnapped by the militant group. Locals say the victims of the massacre were farm laborers from nearby Sokoto state looking for work. Boko Haram and its splinter group, the Islamic State in West Africa province, are both known to operate in the region. In 2 separate incidents last month, Boko Haram fighters slaughtered 22 farmers near Maiduguri. Boko Haram insurgency aims to overthrow the government and create an Islamic State. Violent attacks are aimed at diverse civilian and military targets. In 2014, Boko Haram abducted about 280 schoolgirls in Chibok in northern Nigeria. A year later, the group carried out its deadliest massacre. Amnesty International reported as many as 2,000 were killed in an attack that lasted 4 days in January. In 2017, an ambush on an oil exploration team in northeastern Nigeria killed at least 50 people. Then again in 2018, Boko Haram seized 110 schoolgirls from a school in northern Nigeria. Since 2009, the jihadist conflict has displaced about 2 million people and killed at least 36,000. Wanja Mugai, CGTN.
Well, for more on that story, we're now joined on the phone by Baba Chiroma, who is a youth leader and community influencer based in Maiduguri. Thank you so much for joining us, Baba. What more can you tell us about this attack?
Good morning. How are you doing? The attack has happened the day before yesterday at Koshobe. Koshobe is a settlement within Zabarmari, the Dusman axis. This Koshobe was very far from the town of Jere, that is all Maiduguri. And the insurgents came and attacked people in the farm, and while they slaughtered at least more than 50 people there. And basically now this morning, 37 were even buried, and they were even be buried according to Islamic injunctions. And then people now are worried about the situation that will come and after this attack, because some are saying that before this day, there are attacks where the army and civilian JTFs went and attacked the Boko Harams at the outskirts areas of that bush along this Koshobe area, and they were killed. Then after that, the attack was even brought back to the Koshobe near the Zabarbari, at the area where the farmers are going to farm. Then they gathered them together. They slaughtered at least more than 50. And now the situation has been calmed. People are even now going to the bush, find some of the body that they were left there. They are going to the farms and even taking them to come and bury them again. But subsequently now, they have buried at least 37.
We do know, Baba, that President Muhammadu Buhari has condemned the killing of farmers. What more do you think the government needs to do to improve security in the region?
You see, we know that the government are worried about the people, at least by giving them the security. But this thing has look at it as have another strategy to involve the community people. You see, this plan that government are planning for the security, at least they must to localize it to the level of people involvement in that community. For instance, now we must to have a community action cycle where a dialogue and feedback loop can be organized by many people in the community. Then they will discuss with the government, and also the meeting should be with the security personnel. Like you see, traditionally we have our own hunters. They know the bush and they know the areas more than deploying the armies, at least from far southern Nigeria, to come and even use a strategy that is not even applicable in that area. I think government should look into this and even have people at the grassroots level to discuss, like not even discriminating some of the hunters that they have they believe that they can do something that to bring the security to normalize in that area. Also, you see, to develop to even have a comprehensive security something, there are something that we will look at it in the form of having a community development plan. So this community development plan can enhance the economic system of that area. You see, this outskirts area, when you started from all Maiduguri, there are nothing like more than 50 or 20 securities. But these people are coming massively attacking people. Now, government should develop that area to build at least houses, to have a street to develop, that people will be, the place will be movable, and the farmers will also be liable to do something at that area. But the area is very remote. Nobody is even going there unless the farmers. And these people, they agree with the government. They want to kill people. I need people will do, government will do something to improve security, through having the community dialogue.
Baba Chiroma, thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. Baba Chiroma, youth leader and community influencer, is based in Maiduguri, Nigeria. Well, Ethiopian federal troops have gained control of Mekelle, capital of the northern Tigray region. This is according to a statement released by country's army chief of staff. In a statement released via Twitter, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed stated military operations in the region have stopped. For the past 3 weeks, federal troops have been fighting regional forces loyal to the Tigray People's Liberation Front. This followed months of rising tensions between Addis Ababa and TPLF leaders. The situation reached a boiling point when the TPLF was accused of attacking a federal military unit.
After countering the war declared by the TPLF junta, our forces have freed more than 7,000 members of the Northern Command. We have taken back control of our own unit, the Northern Command. We have recovered tanks, artilleries, armored vehicles and all heavy weapons that were looted.
Well, for more on this, let's cross live to Addis Ababa, where CGTN's Gurum Chala is standing by. Gurum, what is the latest there?
Well, as you have heard there from the general, that, by the way, was General Brown Ojura, the Ethiopian Army Chief of Staff. He was the one on top of the mission in also Mekelle city. That was the last mission that the Ethiopian National Defense Force were undertaking, and naming it the final assault against the TPLF Special Force and the militia. Now that the Mekelle city is under the control of the army itself, the remaining job of controlling some of the most important and strategic government or public-owned buildings were also done overnight, we've heard, and returning the country into its security, the city into its security, engaging the public, the residents of the city, are being done according to a source that we have been talking to. The Ethiopian National Defense Force are also in control of the Mekelle airport, another strategic location. So the job of de-escalating the situation has already begun, and we can report that the situation after 3 weeks in Tigray regional state can be called calmer than it was before 3 weeks ago.
Guillaume, what is the government's plan after taking control of Mekelle and indeed the Tigray region?
Hannah, the Ethiopian government has 3 important missions now, according to a statement also by the office of the Prime Minister. The first one is to start the work of rehabilitation. As you know, thousands have been evicted from their homes due to the war situation in that regional state. Some of them have crossed the border to Sudan, and the others are also staying in this country, in the northern part, in different directions, but still are suffering because of the situation for lack of food, also sometimes lack of security and others. So rehabilitation works are going to be done. Camps are now being formed in different locations in Tigray regional state to also bring these people back. And the other and most important thing that the government would like to do now is rebuilding the war-ravaged infrastructure of the Tigray regional state. And roads are now in bad shape. So this work is going to be done as soon as possible. The last and the most important one, according to the government, is also to bring into justice those people who were behind the escalation of the situation, attacking the National Defense Force, or even the engulfing of this crisis itself. So bringing these people into justice is what they want. On the other hand, however, they would like to form a provisional government in the Tigray regional state, which is going to replace TPLF itself. So these are a lot of works that needs to be done as soon as possible, and that's what the government is vowing for.
Guillaume, reports indicate that rockets launched from Ethiopia's northern Tigray region have again targeted the capital of Eritrea. What more can you tell us?
Well, the rocket attacks are not confirmed by the TPLF side, but TPLF is the one that is being accused of it, as it has happened before. The first attack in Asmara airport was done with no damages, according to the Eritrean government. But these ones they happened last night, according to the local time, about 10 p.m. And 6 explosions, rocket explosions, were heard in different sites of Asmara city in Eritrea. 1 or 2 of them were also falling around the airport itself. Again, the Eritrean government has verified no information so far, but we have heard from different directions that no casualties or even property destructions were reported due to these attacks. But the Ethiopian government is still outraged. They are accusing the TPLF, the remnants of TPLF are trying to still make this conflict international by attacking a neighboring state. So the explosion seems to be a true story, but we need to wait and see what the Eritrean government is going to confirm as the impact is concerned.
Thank you for all of that. Guillaume Chala speaking to us live from Ethiopia's capital, Addis Ababa. Well, Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi was in South Sudan on Saturday for bilateral talks with President Salva Kiir. This was the first official state visit by the Egyptian president to Juba, who's promising deeper cooperation between his country and South Sudan. CGTN's Patrick Ayet reports.
South Sudan's government says the Egyptian president is in Juba for a day. President Salva Kiir's office says the visit shows deepening diplomatic ties between South Sudan and Egypt.
President Sisi expressed his readiness to support implementation of the revitalized peace agreement where he is required to help. He also pledged Egyptian full support in alleviating some of the challenges facing us, such as the impact of falling oil prices, COVID-19 pandemic, and recent devastating flood across the country.
South Sudan's government says the meeting also discussed regional stability, including South Sudan's 2018 peace deal's implementation. Egypt has been donating food and medical supplies for South Sudan's armed forces that are in camps for retraining as a result of the 2018 peace agreement. And Cairo is pledging more support for Juba.
We explored ways to promote bilateral relations between the two countries in political, military and security coordination during this critical stage in the region. In addition, we want to pursue economic and trade areas and encourage Egyptian investments in South Sudan for the benefit of the two countries.
The United Nations Refugee Agency says Egypt is a host to 18,000 South Sudanese refugees. South Sudan's government says it also agreed to cooperate with Egypt in the field of water resources and irrigation. Egypt says its vision is that Nile water should be a source of cooperation and development for all the Nile Basin people. Patrick Oyet, CGTN, Juba, South Sudan.
We move on to Somalia now, where at least 7 people have been killed in a bomb attack in the capital, Mogadishu. A series of suicide bombings took place in recent weeks as the country plans to head to the polls. CGTN's Abdulaziz Billa is in Mogadishu. He filed this report.
On Saturday, mourners attended the burial for the victims of Friday's suicide attack. Al-Shabaab has claimed responsibility for the suicide blast, saying it targeted government officials and members of the national intelligence. The evening blast targeted Gelato Divino, a popular ice cream shop along the Mogadishu Airport Road, a secure area linking the city and Aden Abdullah, the country's biggest international airport.
The restaurant and ice cream shop is quite popular among the youth. We pray for the departed souls. Those who lost their lives were outside the ice cream shop. We pray for their departed souls. But this is a clear testament of a group that has been defeated and using suicide bombers to inflict damage and fear.
The blast is the second this month. On 17th November, 5 people were killed after a suicide bomber detonated explosives in a restaurant near the General Kahia Police Academy. Somali leaders have condemned the attack, vowing to punish the perpetrators.
Al-Shabaab has been consistently targeting civilians, vulnerable people, businesses, and we are working day and night in memory of those who have gone as a result of Al-Shabaab's heartless attacks to protect our people from terrorist attacks.
Critics blame Somali leaders for prioritizing politics over security ahead of the upcoming elections. Militant group Al-Shabaab has been known to increase attacks during polls. Elections for members of parliament and senators are expected to start next month, followed by a presidential vote in February 2021. Security will likely be the focus of attention during the campaign period that has formally kicked off. Militant group Al-Shabaab has vowed to target those involved in the process. In the past, it has targeted and assassinated clan elders and electoral delegates. It has also abducted and released others with assurance that they won't partake in the process. Abdulaziz Bilon, CGTN, Mogadishu, Somalia.
Time now for us to take a short break and return. The WHO urges DR Congo to scale up immunization campaigns. And family members attend funeral of top Iranian scientist Fakhri Zadeh.
Africa is a continent of diversity, with varied climate and enchanting geography, and a people so distinct, but with a shared enduring spirit. We are at the heart of the continent to bring you the untold stories.
Let's have a look.
We celebrate Africa as it shapes its own destiny.
Tunis, Cairo,
Juba,
Ethiopia,
Tanzania.
Africa Live. Find your voice.
Welcome back. You're watching Africa Live. Well, the World Health Organization is urging authorities in the Democratic Republic of Congo to scale up immunization campaigns against diseases like polio and measles. The call by the global health body comes as immunization rates in the DRC and other African countries declined after the emergence of the COVID-19 pandemic. CGTN's Chris Ochamringa has more from Kinshasa.
The DRC government and international health organizations launched immunization campaigns against diseases like measles, polio, cholera, and yellow fever last year. The campaigns continued even after the COVID-19 pandemic struck in March, but they suffered a serious setback. Many parents were reluctant to get their children vaccinated for fear of exposing them to COVID-19.
We noticed that the mothers didn't come with their children. They refused to come with their children in the vaccination. Why? We try to know why they refuse to come. Some mothers think that all the hospitals are taking care of COVID patients. Now that they have a fear.
The World Health Organization is now calling on Congolese officials to scale up the immunization services that were disrupted by the pandemic.
We have almost 99,000, almost 1 million children, which have not even received any single dose of vaccine. And this is an increase of 10% compared to last year, 2019. And these are children, unvaccinated children, which can, if no action is taken, could rapidly develop outbreaks. And this is why the appeal was launched.
According to the Vaccine Alliance, the DRC has one of the highest infant mortality rates in the world at 76 per 1,000 live births. Many of the children have been dying of diseases like measles, polio, cholera, and yellow fever that can be prevented by vaccines. The World Health Organization and other international agencies are helping the government intensify immunization services across the country.
We launched an appeal to the parents, wherever they are, but who did not have the opportunity to vaccinate their children during the COVID outbreak, that they are always welcome to the health facilities where they can continue, their children can be vaccinated in order to be covered or protected against diseases.
More than 6,000 people died of measles in the DRC last year, in what health experts described as the world's worst measles epidemic.
In 2018, the DRC government launched an emergency program called the Mashako Plan to tackle the low rate of immunization across the country. The plan helped to increase the immunization coverage in some remote parts of the country. But the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic led to a decline in vaccination rates, raising the risk of a resurgence of childhood diseases. Chris Ochamringa, CGTN, Kinshasa, Democratic Republic of Congo.
Over to Iran now, where a funeral service has been held for the country's top nuclear scientist, Mohsen Fakhrizadeh. Fakhrizadeh's family and a few others attended the procession of his casket on Saturday night at a mosque in central Tehran. The scientist was killed in an attack on Friday near the capital. Iran says Israel was behind the killing, and its supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, is promising revenge. President Hassan Rouhani has accused Israel of stoking tensions in the region. He stressed that the country would seek its revenge in due time and not be rushed into a trap.
The European Union has called Fakhrizadeh's killing a criminal act, which breaches the principle of respect for human rights. It's urging all parties to keep calm and exercise maximum restraint over the developing situation. Germany is also warning against any moves that could escalate tensions. Its foreign ministry on Saturday voiced concerns over the potential complications Fakhrizadeh's deaths may bring to the region. It called on relevant parties to keep dialogue open with Tehran, while noting the upcoming change of power in Washington. In the United States, senior politicians have also responded. Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders has condemned the killing. He called the act provocative and said it was clearly intended to undermine diplomacy between the U.S. and Iran for the incoming administration. John Brennan, former CIA director under the Obama administration, said the killing risks lethal retaliation and a new round of regional conflict. He urged Iranian authorities to wait for the return of responsible American leadership before it responds against perceived culprits. In a phone call, Qatar's foreign minister told his Iranian counterpart that the incident will only pour more fuel on the fire as the world is seeking to resolve the issue through diplomacy and dialogue. And Turkey's parliamentary speaker is calling the killing an act of terrorism, which the country opposes on the international arena. Gao Yiming, CGTN.
There are reports of staggering COVID-19 figures in the United States with a new daily record of more than 200,000 cases. There are fears that the latest surge could also see bigger spikes coming. Toby Muse reports.
In the US, more than 205,000 new coronavirus cases were reported Friday, a new record, and nearly 90,000 hospitalized on the same day. According to Johns Hopkins University, more than 13 million people have been infected and more than 265,000 have died since the start of the pandemic. And there are fears that the US is on the verge of a new, even bigger spike. The US Centers for Disease Control and Prevention urged people not to travel for Thanksgiving earlier this week. Still, millions of people traveled home to celebrate the holiday with their families. So health authorities worry in 10 days or 2 weeks we could see a new wave of infections. In the face of the new surge, different states are announcing new measures. Los Angeles County, the most populous in the US with more than 10 million residents, announced it will ban most public and private gatherings. The measures go into effect Monday, and health officials advise residents to stay at home as much as possible and always wear a mask when outside. As experimental COVID-19 vaccines show good results, now comes the logistics of how to vaccinate a country of 330 million people. Advisors to the US Centers for Disease Control and Prevention have called for an emergency meeting on Tuesday to recommend who should receive the vaccine first once it is authorized. It's understood that frontline health providers will get the vaccine first.
The government has said that 40 million vaccine doses could be ready by the end of December. The Wall Street Journal is reporting that United Airlines started transporting Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine across the country, getting ready for rapid distribution. That's being taken as a sign that the vaccine could be approved by regulators shortly. Toby Muse reporting for CGTN, Arlington, Virginia.
China has released new guidelines to help make life easier for senior citizens in the digital era. The State Council document requires local governments and service providers to use a combination of traditional and smart methods to help older Chinese citizens adapt to technological change.
An older woman in central China's Hubei province was told she couldn't pay for her health insurance in cash. The incident stirred heated discussion on Chinese social media. The information era is abandoning a whole cohort of people, a Weibo user commented. My parents don't know how to pay their electricity bill by smartphone and have to ask me to do it for them, another wrote. In response, the Chinese government has been taking measures to deal with discriminatory payment rules that are causing inconvenience to the elderly.
In terms of discrimination and the cash payment being rejected, we will rectify the problem in an all-round manner and build a long-term mechanism to clamp down on cash payment rejection.
To make traveling easier for seniors, the smartphone-based health code system, which records Chinese people's locations and travel histories amid the pandemic, will no longer be regarded as the only reliable proof of people's whereabouts.
My grandpa is old and he can't use a smartphone. We have to come here and register when we arrive and leave the station. We take this pass, which makes it easier for the seniors to walk out.
Apart from railway stations and airports, elderly residents who don't have smartphones can also register using alternatives, such as paper certificates or their IDs at hospitals.
Patients who have a health card can go in directly, and those without one, we will see them through the procedure to get one. For the elderly people who don't have a smartphone, we have set up a spot for them to fill in the forms.
It's good, really good, very convenient for the elderly people such as myself.
The country's growing elderly population is struggling to keep up with the pace of digitalization. But Chinese authorities have heeded the calls to make sure young and old alike can share the benefits of a smart society. Xin Ruinan, CGTN.
Your business news is coming up after the break. Here's what you can expect. Nigeria earns over $1 billion from VAT. And Senegal's Sonatel partners with Huawei to launch 5G trials.
It's just taken me completely out of my depth, but at the same time it's exciting. It's new, it's different, it's a challenge.
It's really exciting.
Over the last 14 hours of rain.
Time now for the business news. Nigeria has made huge gains in value-added tax returns in the third quarter of 2020. The West African state earned over $1 billion from VAT, which is close to a 30% increase from the previous quarter. This as the country's economy struggles due to the COVID-19 downturn that has led to a plunge in crude prices and rising inflation. CGTN's Kelechi Emekalam reports from Abuja.
Nigeria's Senate passed a finance bill to raise value-added tax from 5 to 7.5% 1 year ago. And the outcome of that decision is being felt now. According to the country's Bureau of Statistics, revenue from VAT increased by over 54% year-on-year to hit $1.12 billion. Though a significant increase, it's just a fraction of what the country needs.
The infrastructure requirement is so huge, and the debt service is just about over 2.5 trillion. So it's not much compared, given that it's only 20% of that VAT that the federal government gets. So it's still not substantial, but it helps. It helps because it's not just the federal government that is facing that fiscal stress, but also the state governments. Much of the increase that we saw ought to be on luxury goods. So there has to be increased compliance on luxury good items to generate more revenue. And of course, there are waivers of VAT for businesses employing less than earning less than 25 million naira turnover. And then, of course, there are so many food items that are exempt.
Nigeria is facing one of its toughest times. The West African country's earnings had been stifled by dwindling oil prices and exacerbated by the COVID-19-induced disruptions. The World Bank projects it could be facing its worst recession in more than 4 decades, and government has been looking to international lenders for more borrowing to boost the economy.
I'm really glad that we are catching up. The issue around debt sustainability is not because we are borrowing beyond our means or hitting any exceeding the benchmarks. It's the revenue side, our ability to maintain the service, and that's debt service to government revenue is the one that is over 50% to 60%, towards 60%. So this news of VAT being a substantial increase in the quarterly is a good news.
24 of 28 sectors recorded improved VAT remittances, including manufacturing, professional services, commercial and trading sectors. Economic watchers say the increase in VAT will help grow government's revenue, but in the face of dwindling oil revenue, Nigeria will have to intensify its diversification efforts in order to expand its income base. That would help the government spend its way out of a catastrophic economic downturn. Kelechi Emekalam, CGTN Abuja, Nigeria.
Fitch Ratings has revised Tunisia's outlook to negative. It, however, affirmed the long-term foreign currency assured default rating at B. The negative outlook reflects a sharp deterioration in public and the impact of the pandemic. From Tunis, here's Adnan Shuashi with the details.
Tunisia's Minister of Economy, Finance and Investment Promotion declared that Fitch Ratings has taken into consideration the latest negative economic indicators during the pandemic.
Fitch Ratings have evaluated the public finances and the latest economic situation in Tunisia. We are aware of the challenges and we aim to improve the situation by taking seriously all the recommendations. Despite the global health and economic crisis, Tunisia aims to put in place structural economic reforms.
The ratings agency also noted that inflation in the North African state would average 5.6% in 2020-2021. It added that it projected the central government deficit to widen to 10.5% of GDP in 2020 from 3.3% in 2019.
Our top priority is to reduce the payroll expenditure, reduce the deficit, and boost the purchasing power of Tunisians while reducing inflation in order to face this difficult economic and health situation. We want to increase the competitiveness of SMEs which suffer due to the pandemic. The state wants strong companies which can increase jobs and revive the national economy.
Fitch Ratings projects economic growth will recover to 4% in 2021. The Tunisian government also expects the same positive growth. However, the Finance Commission at Parliament has warned the government that several local and external factors may hinder the achievement of this forecast.
The government and the rating agency's projections are too optimistic. It's impossible to reach a 4% growth in 2021 because the pandemic and the crisis will not end in December. The world is in fact expecting a third wave of COVID-19. Therefore, production in various sectors and export will not resume normally. This is completely unrealistic.
The finance minister forecasts a rise in gross domestic product GDP of 4%, investments of 17% and exports of 10%. Ali Kali believes that the current account deficit will be 8%, while the inflation rate will be closer to 5% in 2021. The recent indicators provided by the Ministry of Economy, Finance and Investment Promotion show that reducing the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic and improving the production of phosphates, oil and tourism could help boost growth in the next 12 months. Adnan Shawishi, CGTN, Tunis.
Senegal is the latest African nation to launch a 5G testing. Mobile network operator Orange Senegal conducted the first test this week in partnership with Chinese tech giant Huawei. The event was unveiled during the second Senegal Digital Forum. Telecom operator Sonatel, through its subsidiary Orange, will lead this venture in the West African nation. Sonatel CEO Sekou Dramé said the launch of 5G internet would open up Senegal and the entire continent to the world.
Senegal is now able to launch its technology at the same time as many G20 countries. This will support the digital transformation of companies, institutions, the state and the public service. In addition to existing networks, 5G will make it possible to connect more people simultaneously with speeds never reached before.
The Ugandan ride-hailing startup Safe Border has closed operations in Kenya, citing the impact of the pandemic. Safe Border connects passengers to motorcycle riders through a mobile app. The app began in Uganda before spreading to Kenya and Nigeria in 2018. Isabel Nakira reports.
Safe Border has pulled out of the motorcycle taxi market in Kenya. The company says the coronavirus hit hard at a time when it was struggling to expand. Apart from ride-hailing, Safe Border was also connecting users to other online platforms like online markets, food delivery services, and financial transactions like airtime purchases.
A product like Safe Border depends on a lot of on a lot of funds and a lot of raising of funds. Had to go through a very difficult situation because not every investor is willing to invest during this difficult moment. So we had to pull in because we didn't have, to be honest with you, we didn't have all the finances to continue running the company.
Kenya started easing lockdown measures about 4 months ago, but the movement of people remained low due to fears of catching COVID-19.
Around 4,000 motorcycle taxi drivers in Kenya have lost jobs following Safe Border pullout, and many of them had lost incomes during the lockdown and were struggling to cope.
Safe Border says it could not sustain the business because the market environment was uncertain, posing threats to its operations in Uganda and Nigeria. Kenya's economy is one of the fastest growing in East Africa. Safe Border says it enjoyed the competitiveness of the market and learned lessons.
It's a very difficult decision that we had to make, but we had to make it to be able to save Safe Border because the economy is real tough, the situation is real tough. A lot of movement of people have been reduced. You know, when people are not going to churches, when people are not going to bars, when people are not going to school and stuff like this, you get to realize when people are now working from home and all meetings are happening from Zoom, you get to realize that movement of people is very, very limited. That means our business transaction will always continue to be low.
The pandemic has sparked many innovations, and tech entrepreneurs say the only way to stay in business is to learn to be creative.
We have to look into things around digital transformation. We need to skill as many youth as possible, equip them with the necessary digital skills and tools that they'll need to be competitive moving forward. We need to address challenges around access to necessary training on business development.
For now, Safe Border will focus business in Uganda and Nigeria as it strategizes on whether it will return to Kenya when things improve. Isabel Nakiria, CGTN Kampala, Uganda.
On to recent technological achievements to curb the spread of the coronavirus. A 26-year-old Egyptian inventor has successfully tested a robot he invented to diagnose infection and post-infection medical care related to COVID-19. As CGTN's Daniela Pearson reports, the Sierra version not only has human-like features, but could also be the next step to tackling the virus.
Mahmoud El-Komi may have changed how robots play a role in our day-to-day lives. His latest invention is being trialled to test for COVID-19 by taking the temperature of patients. It also warns people if they don't wear a mask.
The robot can conduct all these accurate tests while the doctor is in another room or outside of the hospital entirely. This will definitely lead to a decrease in the infection rate among the medical staff. It will also allow us to take better blood samples and will be a little bit more accurate than the human hand.
Sierra version 3 has a human-like face and head with robotic arms. Mahmoud says Sierra 03 can take blood tests, perform echocardiograms and X-rays. It can also help limit exposure to infection and prevent the transmission of the virus.
The government supported my idea, but now I need them to support me in applying it to facilitate mass production and have it in all hospitals. Just like what we did here in this hospital, we can do it in all of Egypt's hospitals.
With the recent surge in COVID-19 cases amid a second wave, Mahmoud said Sierra could play a huge role in curbing the spread of the virus, in turn providing a means to return to normalcy.
This invention is very important during the pandemic. It reduces the infection rate to 0 since everything is automated via the robot Sira.
Sira could be the next step in curbing the spread of the coronavirus. For Mahmoud, he hopes that he could secure investments and backing to turn Sira into a worldwide production. Daniela Pearson, CGTN.
The latest in sport coming up after the break. Here's what you can expect. We bring you more reaction on CAF President Ahmed Ahmed's FIFA ban.